How nice is this? This is just amazing.
Good vibes.
Thank you for doing this for us, for KCRW.
No, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
No. Thanks for letting me play.
Now, I know you've just flown in from Europe. You were in Sweden?
We did Scotland, England, France, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Holland.
Well, you know, I was hoping that we could make this just an episode of Night Sweats, actually, which is your YouTube variety show. Is it a variety show?
What happens is, like, I can't really drink coffee because it messes with my ear. So once in a while, I treat myself to an espresso. So any situation can become Night Sweats plus an espresso.
Well, for everyone, Night Sweats is a little feature on YouTube where you talk about the finer points of black metal and with your sidekick Balthazar.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, this episode also gives you an opportunity to talk about black metal, and you're clearly passionate about this subgenre of heavy metal.
I love it.
And I wonder, you know, what's the fascination? What do you love about that genre? Because it is, I mean, on the surface, you think it's the furthest thing from your own, you know, music, but you know, it's something that you really love.
You have the greatest voice ever.
I'm in the.
No, you do.
I'm in the right business. In the right business. Thank you. But what's the fascination with black metal?
Listen, when we do the next Night Sweats,
That's what I'm hoping for.
We're gonna have like there's supposed to be like a radio disc jockey segment where
Let's do it.
Basically it's like existentialist news. So like he just never finishes a thought. Will you be that guy?
Yes, but animate me. Will you animate me like the unicorn in the?
Well, we can't afford animation because the budget's like $17. So, but we can figure something out.
So, you know, but onto black metal, because I want to try and get into this. No, I want to. Tell me, do you do any covers of bands that are in that genre?
Well, no, because it's kind of like physically impossible on some levels. And although like black metal bands don't tune their guitars down, so that's interesting. Like death metal and thrash and death metal, you could typically tune your guitars down to like the Black Sabbath tuning and get more like, you know, deeper tones, and like even like, you know, Celtic Frost did that with like Morbid Tales and stuff. So when you hear those tracks that we all know and love, Into the Crypts of Race, they basically that whole idea of like sort of getting the guitar into these lower configurations, it kind of like it helped things get heavier, but not everybody can sing like Ozzy, because, you know, Sabbath did that, but he really has a high register, and even his low register is high, so that's why he's such an amazing vocalist, because if you listen to his stuff, he's really up there. Well, the whole, like, sort of super macho down-tuned rock thing happened because if you're tuned down to that, I'll show you this, I'll just explain to you the black metal thing. So if you're tuned down to, this is basically like a lot of the regular metal stuff. So it's the whole idea is like Big Bill Brunzi, it's this metal thing, but that's all. So when you get like so you get tracks like a Celtic Frost track with like a Into Crypts of Rays, right? But unfortunately, as time progressed, you also got yeah, no, yeah. And then it got worse. Then you got. You know what I mean? So
I think there's a covers album coming on, though. Have you ever thought about, you know, covering some of these bands that it
should never be.
Should never be done. But I do
no,
love.
No, they should never be. No, seriously, it's some of it. You know what I mean? Like you can't. It would be bad. It would be bad.
But I do love when a great cover, kind of reveals a song in a totally different light. And actually, I think you really accomplished that with Wonderwall, for instance. And even Noel Gallagher has been quoted saying that he didn't quite understand his own song until he saw you perform it.
Maybe there's a dynamic with him and Liam that you can understand if you have a really tight sibling. But the idea of being in a band with your brother or sister, like, think about that's going to be intense already. So maybe him hearing his own song with Liam's voice and that projection of it, maybe it changed it for him. And then when I sung it, maybe it gave it a different context. Because I don't think it's really that different. I just think I sounded miserable, and I loved the song. So I was like, I just want to slow it down a little, and I want to back it off and see what it did.
Well, I think another thing that connects you and Noel is your excellent songwriters. And I think there's that mutual appreciation for sure. And that's kind of why I suggested him doing Chains of Love. I just, that song is stunning. I really love that tune.
He's got it. I think he's set. He's got a couple of.
he's all set. He doesn't
have to cover anybody.
I want to show people this lyric book. Which, how do people get this? Is this part of a deluxe edition, or is it widely available?
I don't know.
Have you seen this?
I did. My manager had one.
Okay. Well, and, what it is it's a reproduction of lyric sheets, and it's typed, it's handwritten on different songs.
Yeah,
there's an email that was sent, which is one of the songs.
Yeah.
There's it drives home for me, how you're a writer. First, the word is so important to you. Do you actually type with a typewriter your lyrics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm super ADD, and like I have to work on something simple, and I have to work on something that keeps me focused, and I like the sound of it and the permanence of when I see the lyrics written out. It feels really good. I can write on a computer, but there's too many options, and also you can't stare, like you can't get I have a desk at the house that stares in, or the window looks into the backyard up this hill, and so if I really need to write, you know what I mean, I can clear all the stuff on my desk and just put a typewriter there, and then there's something about like writing, and then you look up and you look into, even if you're looking at a wall or a picture on the wall or whatever, you can get the the faraway eyes thing, you can get that glaze when you're really lost in thought, and I can never attain that in front of a computer unless there's a vaporizer right next to it. You can't naturally space out. It's just a space thing, you know what I mean? And
sure. I also have here your 2 books of poetry, and I wonder the connection between songwriting and poems. Do poems ever become songs later, or are they very different for you in terms of the process?
Well, how do I put that? This is I guess the first one, really, it had so much information that was from years before it ever came out. So there were pieces in there that were kind of like, maybe you could see sections that idea came and went, and then I liked the fragment of it, and I left it in there. And then, I've always like... I know how pretentious this whole poetry thing is to some people, and how like stupid and ridiculous, and I knew when I did this, I'm like, look, Jewel had a platinum album and did the poetry book. Do you know what I mean? Like, DRA does not have a platinum album, so I knew it was just like shovel made of words, for who I am. But the thing is, in my life, like I love for people in my life, like if I'm thinking about them, if there's something in my mind that reminds me of them, like I like to write them a poem. Like it isn't always like like roses or the sky is beautiful, I want to lick your neck, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's just like I'll think about something in their life, or it's an interesting way to communicate, you know what I mean? And,
will you continue to publish poetry, or will you work on fiction? Do you have anything in the works?
Yeah, well, putting it out there was really hard, and then following it up was great. Like, kind of saying when I did Hello Sunshine, it was like all those pieces were written within like a month. They were all part of the same batch, and I was on a roll with it. But I think I was happy to share, and I have to get over this hump where, because I'm who I am and because I make records, it can socially disqualify me to this sort of public from doing other stuff without a really huge amount of criticism. I think I got to the place after the second one where I was like, I gotta, you know what I mean? Like my poetry books aren't me going like, I'm the greatest poet that ever lived. You know what I mean? Or in fact, there's probably, only about, 168 different words in those books, but so I still do it in my own time, but I have to find a place in me that makes me feel like I could share again, because I got freaked out.
This recording, the session just kind of was very straightforward. You just kind of set up, studio, Hollywood, boom.
Yeah, they've all been like that though. All the records I've made, I don't think a single one of them ever, besides Love Is Hell, which really couldn't be in one session because of I had to basically figure out how to get to the next. I was in a place where I couldn't just call a label and say, I want to finish this record. It's more like, we don't want you to finish this record. And but the rest of them were usually a week to 2 weeks tops. This one specifically, this one would be like, it would definitely be the blueprint for the way the other ones were in efficiency and the room was set up, and the only ISO was when Nora was in Nora's piano room, and then me all the way across with the acoustic guitar and a vocal, but you could never redo anything. I think Nora could redo a few notes if she had to do it, but they would literally have to time it the way that they used to with the tape machine, so that like if they fucked up the punch in, you'd hear the clip, you'd hear the note not being right. There was no computers in the room. In fact, if he saw you with your iPhone, he would get so pissed. He'd like, put that thing away. And so the tension was there. And what basically, the way that it went, because I think it'd be interesting for people to know, is nobody heard anything. Glenn heard the stuff because he basically came to California after I procrastinated for like a super long time. My manager and Glenn finally went like, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to book the ticket, and after the ticket is booked, we'll tell Brian 3 or 4 days before then that you're coming, which they did, because I kept going like, maybe we just wait 2 more weeks. So he just booked the ticket. He's like, I'm coming to your house. So he flew out, and he sat across from me in the living room, across from this table in our living room, and basically I just played him what I had, and he really liked a lot of the stuff, and there was he connected with everything, which is really cool. The 2 songs that he gave me advice about, I thought it was really interesting, and one of them was a song that became the idea of the song that became Lucky Now is a song called Chris, and it was just way, way more raw, and it was too raw. And I think the idea was, you'll have to sing this, and it has all this emotional energy in it, and you don't want to write something or put something out that it could fuse out. So I really learned this time that like, okay, like if I really do make it, it's almost like if the song, if it has too much personal information, it's almost kind of like a perishable, and you can only leave it out for so long before it's going to get weird to you or sour. So, but I went to the studio, and it was usually about 1 or 2 takes. Everything was live, and I just sang and played, and those guys, I don't know what they were doing, is amazing, but everything was like a conversation, like a jazz record. Sure. You'd hear Ben Mott suggesting a melody, Nora would pick it up, and then you know what I mean? They'd throw it down in the second chorus. It was so cool. You know what I mean? It was so distractingly cool.
Well, it's a brilliant album. So congratulations, and thank you for being here.